This is the Doing Scary Things podcast. I'm Katie. I'm a veteran photographer, a serial entrepreneur, an aspiring author, and a relentless optimist. I'm a slow-talking, deep thinker from the Appalachian Mountains.
I'm Anna. I'm a prodigal musician, an accidental psychotherapist, and I'm living life mostly by experiment and endless curiosity. I'm a redheaded speed talker from a Midwestern farm town.
The purpose of this podcast is to talk to people who are doing some pretty scary things in their life about what it takes for them to push past fear and keep themselves going every day.
We'll also unpack the vulnerable things we're pursuing in our own lives and hopefully offer encouragement to you wherever you are on your journey.
Man, that was brilliant.
Hi, Katie.
Hey.
Hi, everybody else.
Hey, guys. We never know how to start these things.
Yeah. Doesn't get easier.
Yeah.
I don't think it maybe is less scary, but we're not better at it. What does that mean?
Definitely not getting better at the greeting.
Yeah.
If anyone has any ideas,
or if you have a preferred greeting you would like us to say.
Yeah. We could start doing personalized greetings.
Yeah.
For money.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, Brad. We heard you're doing something scary. Good job.
We're here for you.
We love you, Brad.
I love it.
Anyway.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Let's jump right in, shall we?
Let's jump in.
Okay. So we love getting listener questions.
True.
And we want more of them.
Yes.
So email us, doingscarythingspod, P-O-D, @gmail.com. If you have an idea for an episode, if you have a topic that you want to learn more about, want to talk more about, want to listen to two girls in Georgia talk more about, send it to us.
Yeah. Can they also send it via social medias?
Yes, of course.
How do they do that?
At
asking for a friend.
You can at us, duh. So at Doing Scary Things on Instagram.
Yes.
We also run an account called at jasperandjade.music that you should probably also follow. And you can send us questions on there too. Like,
why is your music so cool?
What are you thinking?
Are you Jasper or Jade?
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic.
But today we are talking about a listener question that we already received, right?
Yes.
Okay.
This is something that's come up a couple times. And so we weren't planning to do an episode yet, but we started talking about it and we were like, hey, let's jump right in and just share our thoughts because they might be a little different than what you might think. But we'll just get started. So basically, the question has come up from some people that have listened that said something like, I think it's really great that you guys are pursuing your passion, but I can't figure out what my passion is. And that's a real bummer, I would imagine.
Yeah. It sounds like frustrating. Like they want to know, but they don't know how to figure it out.
Yeah. So that question kept coming up of like, how do you figure out what to pursue in your life? How do you narrow things down? So we're going to dissect that. So my first thought is, because we did make bullet points today because we're so organized.
What's up 2019?
Yes. We're here for it. My first thought is, if you're asking me what job you need in life, what's going to pay your bills the best, what's going to, XYZ, meet all your needs, this is a different question. And we're not talking about a job fair here. That might sound a little harsh, but I honestly mean that. Like, if you're trying to figure out what job you need today to pay your bills, this isn't going to help you probably. Maybe it will. Hang in just in case. But that's really a very different question. If you don't know or can't say what you're most passionate about in life, that's where we're going to focus. And what I would say to you is, if you can't say that, if you can't say, here's a list of my passions, because this doesn't have to be one thing. And we're going to talk about that a little more in a minute. If you can't tell me what you're most passionate about, I'm going to say to you, there might be a chance that you might be blocking something from your past. Like maybe as a child, you had some things you were very passionate about, and maybe something happened to deter you from letting yourself, pursue that passion.
You could have been deterred from that by a parent or by the circumstances or discouraged by other people. Like that could happen a number of ways, but it could be something from as far back as then that you haven't even considered, since.
Right. So that might be an issue, or maybe you're not allowing yourself to be honest with yourself about it, about what you're actually passionate about. Maybe you're scared to say it out loud. Maybe you're scared to admit it to yourself. And so we're going to dissect these ideas and why we think that. So hang in with us. If something about what we just said is like hitting you the wrong way and maybe like offending you a little bit, just hang in with us and see if you'll maybe agree a little bit more by the end of this episode.
Yeah, and people who can't decide or can't determine their passions because there's so many things that they might be passionate about, we're talking to you. People who don't feel a specific sense of passion for anything and don't feel like they have any options, we're also talking to you.
Yes, both. So as we started preparing for this episode, I did a quick Google search to look up the definition of passion, because part of me was wondering, am I off base? Is my idea here totally in left field? Like, I want to make sure I'm giving people good advice. So I looked up the definition. This is what it says. Passion is defined as a strong inclination toward a self-defining activity that people like or even love, find important, and in which they invest time and energy on a regular basis. Let's just kind of break that down really quick. So back to not being able to tell me something you're passionate about. Okay, this is a self-defining activity. So we do have a problem if you can't tell me that, because if you say, I don't know what my passion is, you're essentially saying, I don't know who I am.
Right.
Somewhere in there, we need to get to where we can figure out who we are and what we do have strong interest towards. And again, a passion may not ever pay your bills. You may have that luxury at some point. We don't know yet, but right now we're just trying to figure out what that passion is. So it's something you like, it's something you love, it's something you find important, and it's something that you're going to invest your time and energy on a regular basis. So Anna, why don't you give us a little bit of the psychology behind kind of becoming more familiar and more sensitive to knowing these things?
I think a lot of people get hung up on, this idea that they want to, or they need to, or they're told to, do what they're passionate about, because like you're saying, it's something that defines them. That means that maybe there's something about themselves that they don't know, and self-awareness and the brutal honesty that self-awareness requires, are a huge part of this conversation. A lot of times people just have difficulty with the act of identifying something itself. Like before you even get to the point where you can suss out, this is a thing I'm passionate about, or this is an activity that I feel passionate about, you have to be able to do that process or to feel that feeling. The act of identifying it, you need to hone that sense, right? Because some people will go do 5 different things and they really can't tell you which of them they were more passionate about, because they don't know what it necessarily feels like. And I don't mean emotions, I just mean the internal experience of something. They can't tell apart the internal experience of something that sparks passion in them versus anything else. Maybe they don't have a lot of experience with identifying passion. Another way of thinking about identifying when you experience a sense of passion is if something's engaging to you. And we've talked about this before, that certain words sort of don't connect with people, and the word passion might not connect with you, but maybe the idea of something being really engaging does. Because that definition you just read about passion, that could totally apply to something that's engaging. But I think really the secret sauce of something that you are passionate about and or something that's engaging to you is that identity piece. That idea that when you're able to acknowledge and experience something that creates passion, it's speaking to some part of yourself that was missing before or that was lacking before. So there's this sense of snapping into place. There's this sense of you're finally able to be or express your true self. And that often comes across in like really counterintuitive ways. Like you might be really terrible at something when you first start it, but it's so worth doing because it feels like it's you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's what makes all that make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, like that's how you can tell if something is really a passion.
And I just want to add on that thought is that's a really good example of why I could never tell you what your passion is, because I can never experience that from your point of view.
Totally.
I could maybe grade you or judge you on your ability, but I will never be able to tell you how meaningful it was to you.
Right. I think that's part of the idea of it being self-defining too. You know, the passion itself is self-defining. So, you know, where it speaks to yourself, it also sort of itself is subjective. You know, it's a relative thing. What you're passionate about is maybe not what I'm passionate about, or maybe it is, but it's all dependent on each person.
Yeah.
I would want you to ask yourself questions like, does this capture my sense of wonder? Is it truly engaging? Am I curious about it? Do I get really tired of it really easily? Does it speak to a part of my identity? I mean, those are all kind of more nuanced questions that sort of break below the surface of just, am I passionate about this? You know, I think a lot of times people will ask that question or wonder that and just kind of not know where to go from there.
Sure, not know what it means.
Right.
Like, I guess I like this. Am I passionate about it? I don't know.
Right. And I relate to that a lot because I'm really interested in a lot of things. You know, I get really excited about new experiences, but I think it's really important if you're trying to fill your life with the most important things that you're able to say no to stuff that you're not actually passionate about if there's really not room for it. Even though it might be interesting and even though it might be fun, it's like knowing the difference between a passion and an interest. Because sometimes, you know, with our limited-ish resources of time and often finances or other resources that we have, we will have to prioritize the things that we're passionate about if we want the best life that we can have, you know?
Definitely. When I first took a step back from photography, I suddenly had a lot more free time than I was used to having. My husband was traveling on the road, and I can remember sitting in my house and not knowing how to spend my time. And that was very foreign to me. I wasn't used to even having time. You know, I would normally have said I was this person with endless to-do lists. And so I just didn't know how to handle that. At that point in my life, there were really 3 categories that I was really interested in pursuing. One was writing. One was getting better at music, learning instruments, things like that. And the third was painting. I had always thought painting sounded so interesting. And so literally at the same time that I was ordering a book about how to train your ear to, you know, play piano by ear, I was also ordering a book about abstract painting. And it really could have gone either way. Like it really was that sort of prioritizing that you're talking about. I was trying to figure out, okay, what do I, you know, need? Like it's sort of that idea of how do I want to spend my life? You know, when I'm older, when I'm on my deathbed, like what am I going to look back and be proud of? I still hope I someday have time to paint, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I'm not like dying inside if I don't take a painting class next year.
Yeah, well, and even looking back on that time in your life, you're not sitting here regretting that you didn't wind up painting.
No, I'm actually glad. This is the absolute truth. I'm so glad that I marked that off the list because it freed up time and energy to focus on what is really important to me and what I would seriously regret if I didn't spend time on.
Yeah. So can you speak to the identity piece of that? Like, why was it easy to mark that off the list and feel fine with it versus marking music off the list, which knowing you the way I do now, it doesn't seem like it would have been fine.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly can't really say other than just, I mean, for me, it is a feeling. I understand that, you know, maybe some people can't relate to that. It's tricky to answer that. I've never thought of it that way. But I would say with painting, and I could probably come up with some other examples if I thought about it long enough. I think it's so cool. Like, I think it would be really fun to be able to do it. But I just don't think I have to do it to feel fulfilled, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I'm not going, in all reality, if I get to it in my life, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
And if I don't, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
And with music, it was a very different feeling. And I would say, I don't remember times when I was 3 years old wanting to paint, I do for music. It's always been there. It's always been a thing. Part of what I said in the beginning about, you may be blocking something from your childhood, that's honestly the personal example, because I have, as I've been doing work on myself and letting myself access these parts of me that I hadn't for a really long time, I have unblocked some stuff that I'm like, oh yeah, this was always there. This was always a piece of me.
Right.
And, oh yeah, it's night and day. Painting, no.
Yeah.
I have no memories of ever doing anything with painting as a child.
Yeah. I mean, I think that helps a lot to just clarify, how an interest or even just something fun isn't necessarily passionate. Like, I would love to go swim with dolphins, but I'm not going to regret it on my deathbed if I don't.
Yeah. And you may be a person who, loves to research and put all of your time and effort into researching about dolphins and where's the coolest place to go swim with them and what's the best time of year. That still doesn't mean this is like a lifelong obsession, unless it is.
Yeah. And I mean, I really believe in expanding the options, when we're trying to conceptualize or understand something as important as this topic of being passionate and engaging with those things that you're passionate about. There's a lot to be said about the idea of being multi-passionate. Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to talk more about that in a second. But I just want to throw it out there. Like, maybe there is one thing that's all consuming. I think I know a lot of people who would say that,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe they have secondary or tertiary passions, but they're way lower on the list,
Mm-hmm.
They're just way, way smaller in magnitude. Some people, I think, have passions that are for a portion of their life, and then for whatever reason, they're less passionate about them later. And truly, it's not like some like sleight of hand thing. Like, they really are not really passionate about it anymore, and they discover a new passion, and all of that is possible.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say sort of out the gate that that's valid. Like, any of those things could be valid. You could have one thing your whole life, or you could have a bunch of different things that you're truly passionate about throughout your life that change or rotate in and out.
Mm-hmm.
And there's everything in between there too.
Definitely. It's all okay. And I definitely could understand how, if you have several and maybe you've sort of been taught or influenced that you're supposed to be picking one, I can totally understand how that would be very frustrating.
Yeah.
So just feel validated that it's okay to have multiple passions.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead, if it's okay, and read our actual listener question that got us started on this. So here is the question. It says, how do you choose a direction or focus when you're torn between multiple things? I love a lot of things and want to know how to do everything. I think I would tell her to start by making a list, make a chart, whatever makes you happy. If Sharpies make you happy, crayons, ballpoint pens, make it
felt
you.
Tip pens.
Hey.
Where my felt tip pen people at?
Ink with feathers. I mean, that.
A quill?
That's the word. I don't think that gets enough recognition. Anyway, make it you. I know not everybody's like a list maker.
Right.
Make it you. Make it true to you. So start there. Anything that you're identifying as a passion, make a list. And then just like so many things in life that we have to start prioritizing.
Right.
What do you have access to right now that could maybe help you in one of those areas? That's going to make it a little more realistic to spend time on right now.
Totally.
And like Anna was just saying, that can change. But start there, figure out maybe, okay, this week, this month, this year, I am going to start focusing on this. And then go for it. Like we've talked a lot about, you have to take the first step. You have to start somewhere. But what I would also say is a very important step is revisit that list often, because things can change. And maybe you say, you know what? I thought I was really going to enjoy this, but I never gave any time to it. And when I did, I realized I didn't really enjoy it. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like chalk that up to experience, mark it off the list, and be grateful that you have that knowledge now and can move forward.
It's clarity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's sort of I would say how you start like defining that, but definitely revisit it so that, you know, as those things change, you're not just spinning your wheels or doing something that now you don't really care about as much.
Right. I like the way that even in your own example, you did that. You were like, okay, I have this spare time now, and I'm basically going to divide it among these 3 things and kind of see what takes and what doesn't take, because experience is such a good teacher. But also, I think if you're going to sit down and sort of look at those things, if you can't, for some reason, make time to actually experience them in some way or start taking steps towards all of them, so it might be like 50 things, you know, I don't know. But at least spend some time imagining what it would be like really doing almost a thought experiment, almost like an imagery experiment where you're envisioning what it would be like to do that. And another thing you might do is to kind of assess each one of them for why it's appealing to you. Because like you're saying, some things might just be interest. They might be appealing to you for simple reasons or practical reasons. And reasons are great, for sure. I'm not discounting reasons at all. But I think for things that we're truly passionate about, there's a little bit of unexplainable mixed in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And if you're looking to sort of hone your sensitivity to what you're most passionate about and identify it, I think there's probably going to be a little bit of that unexplainable mixed in.
Yeah. And don't discredit that. Like, don't,
right.
like,
you don't have to explain it.
Yeah. And we try not to be woo woo here, you know, and we definitely fight against that. But there are times when you just know, you know, and don't assume that other people think of it the same way you do. You know, if you've got that feeling, just go for it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times the unexplainable secret sauce and the reasons come together in a mixed bag. Yeah. But the reasons are going to help you figure out how to put it into your life more than they're going to help you figure out if it's a passion.
Yeah. This is all reminding me a little bit of that show you've been watching.
Girl. All right. Raise your hand or scream at your car if you're driving right now. If you've been watching the Marie Kondo Tidying Up Netflix show.
Shout out to beautiful Asian women everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
That are so cute.
Love you. We love you. And we love that you're teaching us to be organized. Yeah. I feel like there's actually some really important, you know, I think the book is called the life-changing magic of tidying up.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people probably roll their eyes at that because they're like, A, I hate cleaning. B, I don't believe it could change my life. You know?
C, I don't believe in magic.
Right? Magic is lame. David Bowie begs to differ.
I hate magic.
But she really does have some very deep spiritual parts of the process. And I think it's fascinating. And there's definitely a parallel because she teaches people to, Marie Kondo, teaches people to use their sense of joy and what sparks their joy to decide which possessions of theirs to keep. You know, a lot of people, I think, on the surface would look at that and just see like, oh, you're just like flying by the seat of your feelings and you're just like, whatever feels good, that's what I'm going to keep. Well, I might not feel special about my can opener, but I'm going to keep it. Right. Right. But, you know, that being said, yeah, it's a necessity. If you had 2 can openers, you'd probably have no trouble throwing out the second one, you know?
Well, maybe you would, and you'd be paralyzed every time with which one do I use?
Right. And the answer is whichever one sparks more joy.
There you go.
So, in a way, her whole thing is like simplifying your life so that you can have the most joy. And in a way, that kind of is what we're talking about when you're in that boat with our listener, where you've got a bunch of things that you're interested in, a bunch of directions you might be pulled in, and, it's clutter, and you want to clarify and you want to focus in on the stuff that's really going to be the most meaningful.
Yeah.
It's the same principle, kind of.
It's kind of like pick a path and go for it, or stand the risk of just not doing anything.
Yeah.
Like you get to choose. You get to choose how you spend this time on earth. And so I definitely agree with that. Like, what's going to bring you the most joy?
Right.
Like Anna said, visualize yourself doing it, doing each thing. What would be the most meaningful to you? Going back to my example, I did a little bit of that. And I remember thinking, okay, what if I did get good at this? Which, guys, it would have taken forever. But I was thinking, like, what if, what would I do with these paintings? And I started thinking down the road of, would I start like an Instagram account for paintings? Would I, sell them at markets? And it just none of it seemed fun to me. None of it seemed interesting. It just didn't seem like a path I wanted to go down.
Yeah.
And so I happily crossed it off my list, at least for now.
Yeah, like you didn't really have a vision for it.
No.
It's just an interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hit me up, guys. If anybody wants to go to one of those like painting nights, I'm there. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah. You're not going to organize the rest of your life around it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's just not... It's not as meaningful as the other paths.
Love it. Katie's also got your back if you want to go do karaoke.
That's true.
Just FYI.
Talk about bringing some joy.
The best.
It's my own little personal ministry.
Your karaoke ministry.
I'm just saying it involves wearing one glove and having a harmonica with me at all times. So,
wow.
You don't know that?
No.
Girl, we have so much
Where
to catch
are
up
you keeping
on.
your harmonica right now?
There's one attached to my backpack now, thanks to Lacey Snyder.
Shut up. Shout out, Lacey.
# Christmas gift. Anything else you want to add?
Oh, did we want to do the,
Oh, yes. Anna had a great illustration.
Yeah. So, if you think of passion as a luxury, it will be. And it won't make any sense to sort of push you towards your goal. If you think of passion as a necessity because it's part of your goal, that changes everything. The illustration is, if you're taking a class and you're just trying to pass the class, like you just have to get a D, right? You're going to do what you have to do, minimal effort.
Bare minimum.
Right. You're going to do the bare minimum, and you're going to think the people who are actually interested in learning the material and who are excited to come to class and who, care about the content that they're learning, you're just going to think they're crazy, or at least you're not going to relate to them at all, right? But if the point of taking the class isn't just to pass it, just to get your credit, just to get your degree or your diploma, like if the point of the class is to learn something and have a new experience and, open yourself up to the world a little bit more, you're going to be all over the content. That's going to be the whole point of being there. The measurable thing that comes out of that is that you're going to get a good grade, or even you're going to pass the class just because you were that interested in it. It's like the difference in those two perspectives, I think, demonstrates that.
Yeah, I think, and it obviously can be an analogy for your whole life, but do you want to pass it? Do you want to just pass it? Or do you want to enjoy it in the process and pass with flying colors?
Right.
Guys, I hope this has been helpful. Please let us know. And if there's anything that, as you've listened to this, if questions are popping up or anything we didn't cover, because that is very much a possibility, send them to us.
Totally.
Instagram, Gmail, website. We're out there. We're here.
Telepathy. Just kidding. Those channels are not open.
That got me. Just think it real hard. We believe so much in you guys, and we just want to help you find clarity and start working towards things that are going to make you really happy.
Yeah. And also, if you try any of these things, like, it's one thing to think about, to hear some suggestions or some sort of practical, actionable ways you can start to clarify this. Like, you can hear it and judge it and think about it. But I really dare each one of you to actually try it and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
Because it might sound silly to some people to visualize themselves doing something, or to even put it all on a piece of paper might be like, that sounds like a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
But like, let it prove that it's a waste of time. Try it, because you never know. And if you do it, we would love to know about it. We would love to know where you still get hung up. Maybe you take some of these steps that we talked about and it leads you to a point and then you still feel overwhelmed. Like, let's have a conversation about it,
Yeah.
Let's dig in deeper.
This could definitely be a to be continued. I'm planning on taking on some coaching clients soon, and we're going to be working through things exactly like this. So absolutely, like, let's figure out, once you find that, what's the next steps? Like, we can definitely talk about that down the road.
Totally.
But I love that challenge. If you think this sounds crazy, or if you don't, try it and see if anything happens, and we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your experiences.
Yeah.
If you try this and get stuck somewhere, let us know.
Yeah. We'll be here.
Where are we? I don't know. Until next time, friends, let us know what you're doing that scares you.
Yep. Find your passion. Figure out what that even means for you. We would love to know. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you like what you've heard, take a second to subscribe or share it with a friend. There's plenty more information in our show notes, including a link to where you can listen to our music on Spotify. See you next week. Man, that's a good question.
It wasn't a question.